Hi, I'm Tony from Driver Hire Croydon Sutton.
Hello, I'm Gary from Driver Hire in Colchester.
So today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to take Gary out for a drive and we're going to have a look at roundabout signs to see if we can learn something that perhaps we don't already know about roundabout signs.
And I hope the weather improves to what we've got, because I believe you're taking me out in Doris. Who's this Doris?
So, Doris is the other lady in my life. There's probably three people in this relationship now. So Doris is my car that I built myself, very proud of. But as you correctly point out, it is raining, so I'm hoping the weather's going to change. It's due to change, so hopefully things will improve.
Oh good, hope you don't scare me witless, Tony.
I'll try.
Oh God, I'm scared already.
Nothing to be scared of. There's no ABS, there's no airbags.
And there's no fuel.
There's no fuel.
And there's a fuel panic buy at the moment, Tony. How are we going to cope?
Well, yes.
Well, that's all right, we've got half a tank, we're going down the hill.
Well, the good news is, if we run out of fuel, it's very light. It's only half a tonne, so you can push it.
I know I'd be the pusher. Tony, we're not on a boys' trip today, are we?
Well, not really, no. We're certainly not out having fun. That would be wrong on a work day.
Yeah, lower your lovely little car here, though when I feel I'm sitting on the floor. It is a beautiful car, but we are out recording road signs to help enlighten us and do more videos and talks for our podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, so the plan today is to take a look at a few roundabouts, see if we can learn something about roundabout signs that perhaps we didn't already know.
Yeah. Now, I've made the effort, Tony, of shaving before we done this, because I know it's got me on video. What's happened with your beard? It's got very long and bushy.
I didn't get the memo, Gary, sorry.
I hope you've got the driver hire socks on, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, good.
So we're shortly coming up to the first roundabout, and we're going to join the A217. So the first sign will give me the map for the major routes.
Okay, Tony, we've just come up to the first roundabout sign. It's on a white background. What's that all about?
Okay, so there's several different colour backgrounds you can have for roundabout signs, and it all depends on the road that you're on. So this particular road that we're on is a B road, and B road's a non-primary route, so it would have a white background in colour. But if you came to this roundabout from a different direction, perhaps from the A217 direction, you'd see the same sign on a green background. So it depends on the road that you're on as to what colour the background is.
So the green would be an A road, blue would be a motorway, and a B road is white. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
Lovely. Yeah. You mentioned the A217, and on the right-hand side on the green part of the roundabout sign, in brackets is the A240. What's that about?
Okay, so if you see a road number, so in this case B2032 or A217, that's not in brackets, that's telling you that that road is the A217. When you see Kingston A240 in brackets, or the M25 in brackets, what that's telling you is turn left to get to the M25, but that's not the M25 itself. So turning right would take you towards the A240 towards Kingston, but you'll be taking the A217 to get to the A240.
All right, that's good. I didn't really know that. Also, as I look at that sign, apart from the roundabout not being a standard round shape, there are different parts of the exits that are thin, fat, short, gapped. What are they all about?
Yeah, so actually, within that graphic, that's telling you a lot of different things. So the first thing you notice is that it is a representation of the shape of the roundabout. So this is called, as you can see at the top, the Tabworth roundabout. It's not really round, it's more of a squashed oval about. I don't know if the Tabworth squashed oval about would have quite the same ring to it, but that graphic is actually telling us a lot of information. So the first thing is you'll notice there's a gap. So if you go round the roundabout, there's a gap before you get back to where you are. Now that is designed for people who aren't used to driving on the left. So we obviously go around our roundabouts clockwise, but on the continent, perhaps in France or something, you'd go around the other way, you go anti-clockwise. And if you looked at a French roundabout sign, then you'd see the gap on the other side. So for drivers that aren't used to driving on the left, they shouldn't be entering the roundabout and immediately turning right.
So that's not an incomplete roundabout then?
No, it's not. And so, because ordinarily, I mean, obviously you can go back the way you started on a roundabout, and there might be good reason to do that. Generally, you wouldn't. Now, in terms of the thin and fat lines, is actually telling you quite a lot of information there. So the first thing you'll notice is that the Headley exit is thinner than the two A217 exits. And generally speaking, what that will indicate is that there's more lanes on the fatter ones than there is on the thinner ones. And it is the case that the Headley exit is a normal 2-lane road, much like you can see in the picture here. And the A217 is a dual carriageway in both directions. So you can see that that's the fatter, wider road. And then you've got this little, let's call it stubby exit, which isn't really doing anything. But that is interesting because that actually is another exit to the roundabout. Now, if you look up in the distance, you can see there's another roundabout sign coming up, which we're going to have a look at next. But when there's too much information to put on one roundabout sign, you don't want to overload a driver. What you'll get is the primary route information typically on the first sign and the secondary route information on the second sign. So let's take a look at the second sign.
Okay then.
So the same roundabout, or squashed oval about, as before, but it's the second time you see the sign. So what this now does, if you remember that little stubby exit, which seemed to be nothing, is now showing you it's the B2220 to Tabworth and Walton on the Hill, and it also shows you local towns. So Banstead and Burheath are both local towns to this junction, which weren't shown on the first sign. But because you're going down the green A road to get there, you'll see that on the green background. And interestingly, the A217 now appears as this little fat stubby behind the leaf, and the little stubby, which was going off towards Headley before, was shown, is now just a little stubby. So the first roundabout sign, the primary route information in the main. If there's too much information to get on there, there'll be a secondary roundabout sign, and we'll give the local information.
So it's the same sign, but with the additional information. There was been far too much going on that first sign if you included that on there. But it needs to be on there because the B2220 is not on that first sign, and I wouldn't have a clue if I was going to Tadworth or not.
Yeah, exactly. And do you want to know a little nerdy fact about B road signs, B road numbers?
Oh, come on then, enlighten me, Tony.
Every single B road number in this country is 4 digits.
Always 4.
Always 4.
Do you know why?
No idea. So you must really trust me, Gary, to get into a car with no ABS, no power steering, no airbags, and
no doors.
Knowing that it's me that's bolted it together.
Yeah. You never told me that, Tony. Oh dear. And how much of it did you put together? All of it?
Yeah.
Oh dear. And this roundabout we're coming up to, Tony, what we look for on this one?
So this is just a regular dual carriageway road ahead roundabout, but this one's got a few extra little symbols on it, which we'll have a little chat about in a moment.
Okay. Has this one got road markings on the road?
No, so this is there's no road markings like on the last one. So there we go, and we're taking the road ahead towards the M25. Okay, so on this next roundabout, we're actually now on the green backgrounds. That tells us we're on the primary route, and the primary route is going straight ahead. But you can also see the 2 local towns or villages of Chipstead and Mugwell are within that white background, so that's telling you that that's a non-primary route going off to the left. And interestingly, you can see you've got an order, which is something we've talked about on previous podcasts, sitting within the information sign. So it's a red ring order sign saying you must not, and in this case you must not go down there if you're wider than 6'6". Neither of us are quite that wide.
No, unless I go sideways, Tony.
But we're not going down there anyway. Okay, so there's a few things which are the same as the previous roundabout. So you can see the gap making up the circle, and in this case it is a roundabout, not a squashed oval about. But so you can see that as being the same. You can also see the differing thickness of the line, so you can tell that the route ahead, carrying on down the A217 towards Reigate, is that fatter width, the same width as we're on. Now, actual fact, you can see in the distance that it's dual carriageway, but even if you couldn't see that because of the layout of the land, you could tell that you've got 2 lanes where you are and 2 lanes going road ahead, and that can actually help you with your lane choice leading up to that roundabout. But there's a few things that are slightly different.
Yep, they've got 2 orange markings above the M25 sign. And we've also got the aeroplane sign. You take me on holiday?
I will, Gary, but not today. so the aeroplane sign, I think it's probably fairly obvious that's referring to an airport. Now, in this case, it's Gatwick Airport. So if you were to carry on in that direction, it would take you towards Gatwick Airport on the A217.
Okay. So what do the 2 orange squares, and there's a square in one and a triangle in the other, mean?
Yeah, so now this is, you see these everywhere, and if you never noticed them before, you will now start to see them everywhere. So what you've got is preset diversion routes, and you'll see this later on the next roundabout, how they change as they move off. But what you've got is, if there was certain road closures, what the authorities would do, if they know they had to shut a section of the M25 for argument's sake, what they could then do is announce on travel radio and on local radio networks that to avoid that problem, say on the M25, follow the yellow squares. So it saves them having to go out and put out a diversion marker at every single junction. You can just follow those squares and that will take you back to the route that you're going.
No, that's interesting information I didn't know. I knew it was to do with the diversion, but I didn't realise that's how it was passed across. I thought it was just for the highways to be able to put the signs out, but it's actually the complete opposite, is to stop them putting the signs out and keeping the flow of traffic going.
Yeah, and you can get that information across to the motorists quite quickly. So you might see a temporary sign in the gantry on the motorway saying, M25 closed, please follow yellow square diversion or something like that. But yeah, so it's kind of a pre-planned diversion for should the worst happen.
So I'm now travelling down the A217. I hear on the radio, the M25 shut. Please follow the square diversion. So I'm following that, and we're both going the same direction as the triangle one at this moment in time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So so you've got different examples of those all over the country. You'll see different shapes. But yeah, that's what it's for.
Oh, excellent. And looking at this, I can see there's no road markings and there's no real need for it, where the other one was a little bit more confusing and needed a little bit of help, because we can get confused if we come up to a junction because we can't see everything all the time, because there's a lot of road furniture about.
Well, exactly. But I think the trick is to glean as much information from the signs as you possibly can to give you all the clues you need. There's quite a few hidden gems in those roundabout signs.
Yeah. What we're missing, Tony, is our driver hire hats.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're missing a hat.
Well, there is one in here, but it's not driver hire. It's got not enough promotion on it for me.
You're not worried about getting the wind in your hair then?
No, mine's quite thick. It holds its place. So, Tony, we now come up to another roundabout, and what's really unique about this roundabout?
Well, this is an A road meeting motorway, so in this case the M25. So we've got here a lot of information about lane position before we get there.
Okay, Tony, this sign looks like we're not coming to a roundabout.
Well, yes. This is an information sign about the lanes you might want to be in, and we are coming up to a roundabout just after this sign. So this is helping get the traffic set for where it's going prior to the roundabout. Interestingly, though, you can see here the the diversions we picked up on the previous roundabout, you've got the square and you've got the triangle, are now going in different directions.
Right. So if you're going east or west accordingly,
Yeah.
I'm got to follow the square sign because I've been told to by
Yeah.
the traffic to do that.
Yeah. Okay. So what we've got here, this sign's got a title. So in that box at the top, Reigate Hill Interchange. This is actually junction 8 of the M25, as most people would know it, and you can see that 8 written within the blue information sign, but the blue boxes are within the overall green box. The green box telling us we're currently on the A217, and the blue panel within it telling us that if we take that route, we're going onto a motorway. But again, we've got the use of the bracket. So you'll notice if we're going to turn left here, you'll see we are definitely going to the M25, but you'll also see in brackets the M23 and the M20. So that means we're not directly going onto the M23 or M20, but to go onto the M25 would take us towards the M23 and the M20.
I find that information helpful. I don't just rely on the sat nav. In the past, I might do a quick recce where I'm going, and I realise I'm going to Gatwick. I'm on the M25. I need the M23 later. So when I'm being diverted, because I've been told to divert, all of a sudden I've got an idea what direction I'm going in because I've got the M23 pre-warning me on that sign.
Yeah, I think as professional drivers, you want to take in as much information as you possibly can, and there's nothing wrong with using a sat nav as one of those information sources, but what you mustn't be doing is using the sat nav to exclusively and not taking in that detailed information that's around you there. So the other thing, of course, you can see is you've got Reigate and Red Hill. They are use the right-hand lane. You can see the dotted line down the middle of the sign. Use the right-hand lane to get to Reigate A217, or follow Reigate A217 to get to the A25 to go towards Red Hill, and you'll see that on the motorway sign as we go past.
Okay, so when you come to a roundabout normally, you can be in the left-hand lane to turn left or go straight on, but on this occasion it's saying you can't go straight on in the left-hand lane, it's left turn only.
Exactly, yeah. So, if you're driving a vehicle that's not allowed on the motorway, you definitely don't want to be in the left-hand lane because you're going to end up on the M25.
Yes, my little 50cc scooter, I need to stay on that A217.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
So, here's the main motorway sign.
Okay.
So having passed that kind of lane sorting sign, for want of a better description, we now see the roundabout sign itself. And there's a few interesting things here. Now, first thing to note is we already worked out that if we're in the left-hand lane, we're going on to M25. The only problem with this one is it's very hard to read for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going. It's been obscured by all this foliage.
Yes. So. I think it's fair to say that a little bit of hedge trimming would do us all a favour for this sign.
Yeah. So whoever the local authority is needs to do that, because it is a major route we're on as well. It's not just a little B road coming into a one.
Yeah.
It's going on to the M25 junction 8, as we've said already.
Mm. But there's something interesting on this sign. So we already know that we've got the if we're in the right hand lane, we can choose to go Leatherhead M25, or we can take Reigate A217 and lead us on to Red Hill A25 if that's what we need. But we've got these little stubby things again, which aren't arrows, but you've got some fat stubbies.
I was going to say, they look like fat stubbies to me, so does that mean it's 2 carriageways? And I'll see a second sign later saying what them 2 carriageways are?
Well, what's different about this to the stubbies we looked at on the first sign is that they're parallel to the road going off. So where you see going off to the left, you've got obviously the M25, but the slip road coming back onto the roundabout, coming off the M25, is parallel to that exit. So it doesn't form an exit number. So it's not that stubby's the second exit. The second exit is Reigate A217.
Yeah.
So it's the fact that it's parallel that makes it different.
Right. So it's a no entry in reality. I wouldn't be able to go up there.
Exactly. Yeah. And on the roundabout you'll see a no entry sign that you can't go down there. So the key point to note is if it's parallel, it's part of that same road.
Okay, so would my sat nav tell me the Reigate turning is the second on the left, or the second turning, or would it be the third?
Now I I can't speak for every sat-nav, but most sat-navs, as I understand it, would describe Reigate as being the second exit because it's the second available exit to you.
Do you know what? The ground clearance is very low,
Yeah,
so you've got to be really careful of speed bumps.
yeah. I feel very low, Tony.
I can cheer you up. Well, thank you so much for watching. We certainly learnt loads about roundabouts and roundabout signs in the making of this video, and we hope you got something from it too. So if you'd like to learn more about us, you can find us at thedriverhirepodcast.co.uk. And in the meantime, it's goodbye from me, Tony Goacher from Driver Hire Croydon and Sutton. And
Tony, how do you get out of this bloomin' car? It's doing my head in. And it's thank you from Gary at Driver Hire in Colchester.